Hello everybody, welcome back to my creative space, and in fact a brand new welcome to my new space. Now you can't see much behind me, I appreciate that, and I've had a right faff, I'll tell you, working out how best to film this without either having light glaringly at me or giving me a halo behind me. I've had to do lots of fun things with curtains and try and just balance it, because I've got basically a big window sort of down there and I've got a little window over there, and my camera doesn't like it if it's too light in one bit and too dark in the other bit, so please bear with. This is going to be another part of my learning process, is being in this new space and making myself at home here. It's very exciting. I'm thrilled to be in here. I've actually got two lovely big tables. It's a very small room, which I'll try and show you at some point. It's got two big tables in, and I've now got space to dump things, because you know how it is. You need space to dump things. You need to have a little bit of creative mess going on, because I was struggling in our living room, I'll be honest, because there wasn't anywhere to dump anything. Everything was piled up on one table and it was getting to me. So I'm really delighted. I've moved some stuff in here. There's more to do. I've got more stuff to sift and sort through, but that's always the way, isn't it? So, but I'm just excited because I feel like I've found me again. I'm finding me through this process. I've had to move out of somewhere. It's been like leaving something behind, leaving the past behind, leaving me behind, part of me, if you like, but moving into a new me. And I'm excited for what's coming. I feel like the world is expanding. Although I'm in a smaller space physically, I feel like this actually gives me greater expansion, because it's much more focused, it's much more simple. It's made me hone everything down to exactly what I want to be doing. Ha ha. And of course it won't be as easy as that, will it really? But I'm excited, as I say, to be in here for what is going to be happening going forward in time in this space. I've got lots more sorting out to do, but isn't it lovely when you've got a little room that's yours and you can just make it your own, and you can fiddle around and hang things up and drape things where you want to drape things, and you're not in anybody else's way, and it's just your little, it's a part of you, I think, doing this. It's a little part of you, isn't it? Making yourself at home somewhere. So it's just so exciting to be here, and I'm very grateful to have you here with me. It's very exciting. We're going to explore this new space together. We're going to explore what's going to come out in this new space, how I'm going to work with it, and what I'm going to be doing with you guys here as well. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I'm being given to do things differently. It makes life interesting, and it stops you being in a rut, doesn't it? There's nothing like a big upheaval to make you go, right, okay, what is it I actually really want to be doing? Asking questions. So I'm very grateful. Thank you for your lovely comments last week, and it's just so lovely to connect with you. If anybody wants to say hello wherever you are in the world, that is just brilliant. Leave me a comment, just say hi. That's, tell me what you're doing. I love it. I love connecting. If I could be with you together personally, that would be just fabulous, but life is what it is. So I'm going to get on today with my lovely seed heads, and we're going to see what's going to happen next. We did some sewing last week, if you were here last week. Got one seed head down, and I'm excited to see what's going to be next on this piece. Okay, so this is where we got to last week. We created these. Well, it was supposed to be sort of dock seed type thing, but actually it's more like bracken, and it can be anything you like. It's just some kind of seed head. I might add another piece on there, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm leaving it alone, and I'm going to look at something else. And I was looking at whether I want to do this yet, and I think no, I'm saving this fabric, this yarn, I think, for doing some of these umbly things like on top. But I was looking at this gorgeous colour. This is a gorgeous yarn. I think it's like silk and wool or something. It's just delicious, and I love the slightly purpley colour it's got going on. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, what else can I do with it? I don't want to do what I've done with this, which is these sort of shapes. I don't want to use the yarn itself, and I thought, aha, what if I get some fabric out? So I kind of went to my stash of fabric, which is now in the corner of my room, which is so exciting. I can't tell you how lovely it is to have what you need just where you need it. It's just brilliant. So I'm just cutting this up. I think this was actually a scarf of my mother's. It's being repurposed, and I was looking at this and thinking, well, is this the sort of thing I would like to do? Let's have a look, see what we can do. Sorry, this is not very well cut, but you'll get the sort of feeling. You'll get the sort of feeling that I'm thinking. Now, I'm not quite sure that's the right colour, but I quite like the shape of it against that. So it's like, I don't know, a grassy sort of thing, isn't it? It's got a grassy seed head type feel to it. There we go, I'll just pop that there, see. But actually, yeah, I'm not so keen on that as a fabric. So the other fabric I've got is this, which is like a knitted sort of fabric. So it's got big holes in it, but only if you stretch it. Okay, so I think we'll try a little bit of this. I love the colour of it because it's more like the colour of the yarn. If we look at those two together, they kind of got a similarity to them, whereas that's kind of quite a harsh purple in a way. It's a real purpley colour. This is more like the maroony, deep maroony sort of colour of the yarn. So just trying to find a bit to cut off. It's gorgeous stuff. It sheds like billio. Okay, it sheds like billio. You can see because it's a knitted fabric, so we'll have to treat it with caution. And see what we can do. It's going to drop lots of little bits, I know that, but I'm not frightened. I'm not scared of it doing that. That's okay, because I think we'll get to a point where it won't do that. It'll sort of shed and then it'll stop shedding, I'm hoping. We'll get the sheddy bits off to one side. There we go. So let's swap that in for that. I don't know about you, but I think that's preferable to the purpley colour. It's so subtle, isn't it? Sometimes just the right colour just goes ding. And I quite like that it's actually not completely solid. It's got some textures to it. It's got some little frilly bits, which is what a seed head is like, isn't it? It's not just a solid block of something. So let's just snip another one of those. I love these little wafty edges on it. There we go. If we cut another piece of this stuff, look. Here's a piece I cut earlier. And you can see we're starting to get something. Now, whether I would want to mix these two up, that's a possibility. We could start to maybe layer them up a little bit, so we could have some of that like on top of that, maybe not on top because it's going to fight with that, or whether I put these well and truly over here kind of thing, and we have something else going on over there. This is what it's all about. This is the fun bit, isn't it? This is the let's play around with some shapes, let's see what we get, you know. Let's not make it all samey, because when you're out in the countryside and you see the hedgerow is just this complete mishmashed mingle, isn't it? There's no controlling it at all. It's lovely because it's wild and free. There's no gardener saying we need to put this here, we need to put 4 of those and 3 of those. Yeah, I quite like that, and I like because it's dark. I'll just sort of show you the whole thing. If I show you, that's the length of it. There we go, and that's, you know, so it's not very long, and I love that as an idea. And then you see if you start to put, we'll get the get this again. You can see how this could become something that kind of pops on top. We can start to do something like this. Let's just cut a little bit of this. I'm not saying this is how it's going to be, but you can see you can then start to put something on top that goes, lets the purpley maroony colour go underneath, and then that can come on top and be something umbly. The humble. I wish they were called something else, really. Umbelliferae is such a mouthful, isn't it? cow parsley. Let's call them cow parsley. So you can see there's a possibility there of doing something like that. Possibly. Or we just keep these gorgeous shapes just really simply, and we have something like this coming up over here instead. Let's try it over here. You know, it's all about playing, isn't it? And the beauty of this is it's not like painting where once you've painted it, that's it. I love playing with fabric and yarn like this because you can put it on and you can take it off as many times as you like. And you just can have a little look at it. And yes, okay, you could be doing this on your computer, on your iPad or whatever. You know, you could be messing about. You see, that then makes some sense to me. I actually feel as though they need a little bit of space. Maybe I won't layer them up like that. Maybe we'll just give them some space around each other. And it might be that I'll put some of these purple ones at this end. Ooh, can't see, can you? I might put some of the purpley ones at that end. Or we just keep it really, really simple. And you could have that. That would be enough. You know, because the background's quite busy, you could simply do maybe one more of these over at this end. Let's have a little look at that. This is just so much fun. It's such a pleasure because I feel I've been doing so many, I don't know, mundane jobs lately, which I don't mind doing at all. I've done so much sorting out, guys, over the last few months. So much clearing out, endless clearing out. And to be able to come and just play in my lovely new art room, my lovely new creative space, the joy of that is just massive. I can't tell you. So I'm so glad to have you here with me, sharing this lovely process. There you go. There we go, let's try that. So again, it's all about scale. I think a lot of this is about the scale of what you're doing. It's where you place things, what size, how many. So you see something like that, to me, I rather like, because as I say, the background is really quite busy. There's a lot going on in it, and these are just like hints of something, aren't they? We might need something else at this end, but I wouldn't want to put another umbel, I don't think, because it would just be too much, unless you did a really small one sort of down here or something. But I think what I'll do is I'll get these stitched on, these purpley things, and then we'll just have another look. This is the joy of it, isn't it? Nothing is set in stone. With fabric, you can take it off. Even if you stitch it, can't you? You can undo it. I have done that. I've had to undo things down the years. So let's get some stitching. Okay, so I'm set up for free machine embroidery again, and I've just rolled my little piece up here just to make it easier to use, and I'm just simply going to stitch this little bit of stuff down. There's really not much controlling it, I'll tell you, because it's just very much kind of got a mind of its own. Okay, so the stalk, I'm just doing a very simple straight stitch all the way down the yarn, kind of keeping it as taut as I can. Obviously, you might choose to do this with your normal foot on, it's up to you. And you could be actually zigzagging that stalk if you wanted to, but I think I'm just going to keep it very simple and do it like that. Now then, I am quite happy with these bits now. I've added more grasses and I like the balance of that. I feel as though it's got a flow to it. I've only got one of those, but that's okay because I don't think there's space to put another one of those. It would get a bit cluttered, I think. So that's going to stand a 1, and these are 5 and 2 over here, and that's fine. So I was showing you this yarn, and I was thinking I was going to use this yarn. That was a possibility. I also had this yarn. That was a possibility. I really like the colour of that. It's a good colour on here, but it's not a very good yarn in that it is fluffy. It's fuzzy. I don't know if you can see that. And in order to make that into anything, I would be struggling. I would have to kind of cover it up because I think it's just too fluffy as a texture for what I want to do. Okay, so I'll put that to one side. So I've messed around with some more little samples. I did try both of those. I tried stitching them as cord, I tried zigzagging them down, I've tried all sorts of things, but I just don't think they cut the mustard. So I also then moved on to some lovely shiny, more shiny sort of threads, and I had, let's see if I can find the other one. I think that's the two colours I chose, and I think of the two, I think that golden one works best. I think that's too light, but I think the golden darker one works well. It's the kind of the same sort of weight of colour as these, I think. It's got the same, it sort of balances up those dark colours there, I think. It's not as light as I thought I was going to go, but I think it's going to work. So I'm going to wind this onto my little bobbin here. It's a bit of a chore to do this, but it works, and once you get stitching with it, it's so easy because you're just doing it from the wrong, oops, told you. You have to kind of get this into here somewhere, don't you? Last week, Linda asked me a really good question, which was about, I mentioned couching down the yarn, okay, and I was kind of talking about this yarn. Obviously couching it down could be simply stitching down through the middle of the yarn like that. That just sort of holds it in place, and then you can maybe do zigzag on top. But actually what I was really specifically talking about was this yarn and stitching from the other side of the fabric, okay? So a yarn like this is really quite thick, and you can't stitch with it, can you, normally through your needle. So what I do is, this is an old trick I learnt many years ago, and I'm sure many of you probably know it, is you put your thick yarn, or whatever it is you're using, thick thread yarn. I mean, some yarns will do this, some yarns won't. Thick threads are usually quite good at this sort of little tip, little trick. Okay, so we'll just snip that. This goes into my bobbin case. As I said last time, this is a bobbin case that I keep only for doing thick yarns and threads in, okay? So that it's got a loosened off little tension screw. I don't fiddle with the tension on my main one that I use all the time, because I would just be getting into big trouble. The main thing is you make sure that the tension's loose enough that that yarn can just pull, or the thread, whatever you're using. You know, it might be a thick thread, like this sort of stuff, that you maybe can't get into your needle. So we'll take this over to my machine and I'll just show you what I mean. It's basically, I'm stitching from the wrong side of the fabric, and what happens is the little stitches with my normal thread will, what I call, couch it down, as though you were doing it by hand stitching. When you're couching down a thicker thread, the machine will do this for me. Okay, so I've got 3 layers here. I've got a bit of stabilizer, cotton curtaining to lining, and a bit of calico, which is just what I'm using to do my little samples on. I've got my yarn. You can see it sticking out there. That's coming up from the bobbin case underneath. I've put a deliberate colour on the top so that you can see what happens. And all I'm going to do is stitch very slowly and gently from the top, and I'll show you when I've finished. Okay, so that's the back. You can see when I've just done normal stitching, you can see that's what it looks like, and when I turn it over, that's what it looks like. Now, obviously I used deliberately a rusty coloured thread so that you can really see it, but you can see how the yarn has actually just been what I call couched down and held in place. That's what happens when you use a thick thread or a yarn and a normal thread from the other side of the fabric, from the wrong side of the fabric. So there you go. Okay, so I'm all set up for free machine embroidery, and I'm doing it from the back of the work, and I have no idea how it's going to work out, but I'm just going to go for it. It's very free. I'm not really in control because I'm doing it from the back, so we'll just see where we're going to go with it. So I have stitched 3 sets of cow parsley onto here now. Now, I made a bit of a blooper, I'll be honest with you. I stitched them down from the back like I showed you, capturing them down from the back. But what it's done, because I forgot to put any stabilizer on the back, and I just stitched it onto the soft fabric here, it's pulled in ever so slightly. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of pulled the stitching in, so I'm not so keen on it. But what I've done to counteract that effect is I've then added some stabiliser on the back, which is this tearaway stabiliser, and I've stitched it from the top with just some thread that matches the original thread, and it's just pulled it back into the surface sufficiently. It was just like really messy on here, I don't know why, it just, anyway, I wasn't happy about it. So I have counteracted that, and I'm going to do the rest of these as well, and then it'll be more or less done. Just shows you we can all make mistakes, and I've learned so much from doing that. It's really been an interesting process to see it go wrong and try and work out what to do about it. Okay, shall I show you it? Shall we unfold it and see what it looks like now? Look at that. I am really pleased with this. Part way through I thought, oh dear, this is not going very well. This is not going how I thought it was going to go. These are not how I wanted them. The picture I had in my head, it's not matching up with that sort of feeling. But what's come out is something different, and I'm celebrating that something different has come out. I played with it, I experimented with it, I made mistakes with it, and now I am really happy with that. So I hope that you've enjoyed this process with me, this process of exploration, not knowing how it was going to turn out. I'll show you the back because I always think it's good to see the back. I've put the stabiliser on the back now, and you can see where I've cut bits out, and I unpicked some of the stitching because I didn't like it, so I had to put some extra stabiliser on. I've put stabiliser, I've stitched through the entire piece of stabiliser now because initially I just did the umbel bits, as I say, because that helped the stitching look better, and I think putting that stabiliser on the back and stitching through all of these has made the difference. It's turned it into a whole piece. I always say I like the sound when I've done some stitching like this. It's not got as much stitching on as I would normally do, but look at this with the background. I hope you think that's worked well. Next week, well, who knows? Let's see what next week is going to bring. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much for your company here. Bye for now.